She twisted a shiny master key in my lock and pushed the door halfway open like she owned the place. "This property belongs to the HOA now," she snapped, standing there with that smug little smirk. I froze for a second. Not because I was scared, but because I couldn't believe she was actually doing it in broad daylight. My coffee mug almost slipped from my hand as I said, "Step back, Karen. You've gone too far." But she only leaned in, whispering loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "If you don't leave on your own, I'll make sure you're dragged out." I didn't answer right away. She wanted me to lose it, to shout, to give her a reason to call those fake cops she brags about knowing. Instead, I turned slightly and called out, "Ethan, come here a second." My son stepped out from the hallway, tall and calm, his shoulders filling the space. Karen's smirk cracked the moment she saw him, broad frame, faded Marine Corps hoodie, and that cold stare only a veteran can give. "Is there a problem?" Ethan asked, his voice steady but sharp enough to cut through the air. Karen's hand slipped off the doorknob like it had burned her. This isn't safe," she stammered, pointing at the house like some official. "The HOA has the right to inspect any property." Ethan took one step closer, folding his arms. "Funny," he said slowly, "because last time I checked, breaking into a veteran's home with a fake key is called trespassing." He didn't raise his voice, but his words landed like steel. The neighbors across the street had already stepped onto their porches, whispering, phones raised, recording everything. Karen's eyes darted left and right. But instead of backing down, she tried doubling down. "Your rules don't matter here," she hissed. "I have more power than you think." Ethan leaned in just enough so only she could hear, "Lady, you really don't know who you're messing with." And for the first time, I saw fear flicker across her face. Karen forced a laugh, but her voice cracked. "Don't play tough with me. I can have this house condemned by the end of the week." She waved a folded paper in the air like it was a royal decree. "One phone call and your locks get changed. Try me." I wanted to snatch the paper right out of her hand, but Ethan's calm stare stopped me. He didn't move, didn't blink, just asked, "Who signed that notice?" His tone was so sharp it cut through her fake confidence. She unfolded it and shoved it against his chest. "Read it yourself, Marine boy." Ethan scanned the page once, then smirked. "This isn't even official. Wrong letterhead, wrong seal, and the signature. That guy's been dead for 3 years." The crowd of neighbors gasped, phones zooming in to capture every word. Karen's face turned red, but instead of folding, she pushed harder. "You think anyone cares? When I call the cops, they come for me. Not you." She pulled out her phone and started dialing with shaky fingers. My stomach nodded. I'd seen her play this trick before, bringing her so-called officers who showed up in cheap uniforms, shouting like they were the law. I whispered to Ethan, "She's calling the fakes again." He cracked his neck, calm as ever. "Good. Let them come." His voice carried across the street, steady and cold. "But this time, we'll see who leaves in handcuffs." Karen smirked, hiding her panic as she pressed the phone to her ear. "Yes, it's urgent," she hissed dramatically. "Trespassers refusing HOA authority. I need you here now." Then she shot Ethan a look that said she thought she'd already won. But Ethan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, like he'd been waiting for this moment. "She has no idea," he muttered, just loud enough for me to hear. "Dad, I already made a call of my own." And that's when I noticed the faint buzz of radios coming from down the street. 2 black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood, their engines low and heavy compared to the beat-up sedans Karen's officers usually drove. She straightened instantly, waving like a queen summoning her guards. "Finally," she shouted, turning to the crowd. "Now you'll see what happens when people break HOA law." The SUV stopped, and 4 men in dark uniforms stepped out. Their badges glinted, but Ethan's jaw tightened. These weren't cops, They were Karen's regular rent-a-thugs dressed up again. Cheap belts, no name tags, fake patches stitched on wrong. One of them barked, "Ma'am, step aside. We'll handle it." Karen pointed straight at Ethan. "Arrest him. He threatened me in my own community." The neighbors gasped. Phones tilted higher. For a moment, even I felt the weight of it. The men were walking with authority. Hands hovering near their belts, ready to make it look real. But Ethan didn't flinch. He stepped off the porch, boots hitting the pavement hard. "Before you embarrass yourselves," he said slowly. "You should know I served 12 years in the Marines. And I still have friends who don't take kindly to imposters in a uniform." The lead fake cop sneered. "Big talk. You think we're scared of some ex-Marine?" That's when the second sound hit, the sharp crackle of real radios. From the other side of the block, 2 marked patrol cars rolled up. Lights flashing red and blue. Karen froze. The crowd erupted with whispers. The difference was night and day, real officers, real gear, real presence. The fakes stiffened, caught between running and bluffing. Karen spun around, desperate. "Those are my backup," she lied, voice trembling. "They work for me too." But one of the real cops stepped out. Hand resting on his holster, eyes scanning the scene. He didn't look at Karen. He looked straight at Ethan. And then he said the words that made the whole street fall silent. "Sergeant Walker. Good to see you again." The crowd gasped. Karen's mouth dropped open. Ethan just nodded once, calm as ever. "Told you, lady," he said quietly. "You really don't know who you're messing with." The lead fake officer froze mid-step, his hand still hovering near his belt. The color drained from his face as the real cop addressed Ethan with respect. Karen spun in circles, pointing wildly. "No, no, you don't understand. They are the criminals. Arrest them." The neighbors erupted in laughter, phones recording every second. One man shouted from across the street, "Karen, you're cooked." The fakes tried to regroup, standing taller like they weren't rattled. But the real patrolmen weren't buying it. The officer who knew Ethan walked closer, lowering his sunglasses. "What's going on here, Sergeant? We got a call about trespassers. But all I see is an HOA president playing landlord." Karen's voice pitched higher. "I am the authority here. These men work for me." She reached for the lead fake's arm like proof. But he jerked away, panicked. His buddies were already backing toward their SUV. Ethan didn't raise his voice, didn't even look angry. He just said, "You're all done. Impersonating law enforcement carries 10 years each." The real officers exchanged a glance, then drew their weapons smoothly. "Drop your gear. Now." The street went dead quiet. One fake cop muttered, "Screw this," and tossed his plastic badge onto the ground. Another bolted toward the SUV. But the real cops were faster. One slammed him across the hood. Handcuffed him in seconds. The crowd roared like it was a football game. Karen tried to backpedal, her face pale. "This isn't what it looks like. I was misled. I didn't know." Ethan finally stepped forward, towering over her. His voice was low but sharp. "You brought criminals to my father's door. You threatened my family. And you thought no one would ever call you out." Karen's lip trembled, but before she could spin another lie, one of the officers cut her off. "Ma'am, you're under investigation too. We'll need you to come with us." The crowd erupted again, phones flashing. And just when I thought it couldn't get any crazier, Ethan leaned closer to me and whispered, "Dad. I didn't tell you the best part yet." Ethan pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. Instantly, a live feed lit up. Our security cameras had caught every second. From the moment Karen shoved her fake notice on the door to the second her cops climbed out of those SUVs. The crowd leaned closer, gasping at the crystal-clear footage. Karen's knees buckled. You can't use that," she stammered. Ethan smirked. "Already sent to the county sheriff's office. And the DA tried deleting that." The real cops nodded, one of them speaking into his radio. We've got more charges incoming: fraud, trespassing, conspiracy. The fake officers, now cuffed, looked like their world had ended. Karen turned to the neighbors, desperate. You all know me. I've kept this neighborhood safe for years. But no one defended her. Phones were still rolling. One woman shouted, "Safe. You almost had a veteran arrested on his own porch." Another neighbor added, "You're finished, Karen." The officers guided the fakes toward their SUVs. Lights flashing across the quiet street. Karen, pale and shaking, was placed in the back of a squad car. For once, she had no more words. I stood there, stunned, until Ethan rested a hand on my shoulder. "It's over, Dad. She won't touch this family again." The crowd clapped, some even saluted Ethan as he turned back toward the house. My chest swelled with pride. He wasn't just my son, he was the reason. Karen's reign of fear had finally collapsed. I glanced at the stars and whispered, "I didn't fight for this country to be told. I can't live free on my own land." And for the first time in years, the whole street felt like ours again.